Everybody, Ricky here from Behind the Bars TV. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about what's happening in the news now. Now, the people that have just joined my channel, what I do, along with all my other videos about prison, I read some topics out about what's happening in the news today regarding prisons and people getting sent to prison. But in this one, I'm going to be talking about what is happening in the Scottish prisons with transgender inmates. Now, I've covered this story a couple of months ago, and I'll just get into it now. So without further ado, so here we go. This is the app that I get on my phone, or on my laptop rather. And I normally do a few stories at once, but this time I'm just going to start doing one at a time. And the one that popped out this morning, and the reason why I'm covering this one, like I just mentioned, I've talked about this previously, and I mentioned 3 transgender inmates that got sent from a man's prison to a woman's prison. Now, these transgender inmates aren't fully what you would call, they haven't had the full up where they actually are classed or changed into women. These are trans prisoners, and some of them are just doing it whilst they've getting to the men's prison to try and get moved to a woman's prison. And Nicola Sturgeon did put a stop to it and sent them all back to the men's prisons. But when this has just popped up this morning, this is the reason why I'm covering this story. So without further ado, people, here we go. So, wait a second, I'll get that removed off there at the bottom. So trans prisoners with history of violence against women can still go to women's jail after Bryson Scandal. So it comes after trans rapist Bryson was placed in a women's prison earlier this year after being convicted of raping 2 women. So how can someone like this, who, even though they're classed as transgender inmates, to me, like I've mentioned on the video that I've done previously, if these have still got the male bits, how can that person be sent to a woman's prison? Especially someone who's in for that sort of crime against women has now been sent or getting sent back to the women's prisons. So the Scottish Prison Service will announce its new rules for transgender prisoners today. Trans inmates will now only be placed in a jail which matches their affirmed gender if they are deemed to not present an unacceptable risk of harm. The Scottish Government said the new policy protects the safety and welfare of staff, those in their care, and the rights of transgender people. But the Scottish Tories said it is unacceptable and puts women at even greater risk. It comes after trans rapist Bryson was placed in a women's prison earlier this year after being convicted of, I'll try not to say that word too many times because it gets pulled up on the automated service and it will block the video, convicted of the 2 women. Trans woman Tiffany Scott, who had been convicted of stalking a 13-year-old girl, also successfully applied to be moved from a men's prison to a female prison. The cases provoked uproar with the SPS announcing an urgent review and pausing the movement of any trans prisoners. Bryson was then moved to a men's prison and Scott's move was blocked. The new rules will come into place on February the 26th. Individuals will initially be placed in the male estate until sufficient information is known on whether they can be admitted in accordance with their chosen gender. If placing them in a female estate gives rise to unacceptable risks that cannot be mitigated, inmates will not be placed in their chosen prison. If a transgender prisoner is known to have been convicted, remanded, or awaiting sentence for trials including that what I've highlighted there, they will not be eligible for admission to a women's prison unless the risk management team and subsequently the executive panel are satisfied that there is compelling evidence that they do not present an unacceptable risk or harm to other prisoners. The SPS said the new policy had been put together with input from experts in violence against women. People who are transgender and those who are not staff with experience of managing transgender people in custody in Scotland and internationally. Justice Secretary Angela Constance said this updated policy protects the safety and welfare of staff, those in their care, and the rights of transgender people. It makes that clear that if transgender women meet the services against violence against women and girls criteria, they will be admitted and accommodated in the male estate. Now, this will be up for quite a bit of debate because everyone's entitled to their own rights to freedom of speech to talk about these type of articles or these topics that are in the news. But I know there's been quite a lot of debates on this type of topic before, and we'll see what people have to say in the comments. But for me, for my freedom of speech and my take on this is exactly like what they've just mentioned there previous, to be honest. If these type of inmates are in for violence against women, kids or whatever, and they've still got the male bits, if these inmates have still got the male bits, to me, it's a man, it's not a woman. They might have changed the name, or they might be classed as transgender women, but if you've got man bits, male bits, what you were born with, how can you be then classed as a woman and put in a women's prison? If you've got the male bits, you're a male. If you then go on to have the operation to have everything removed, then you're identified as a woman, then things might be different, then you are classed as a woman. But until that is my take on it. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, I'm not offending any transgender women. All I'm saying is, if these type of prisoners are in the male estate, and they've got, like what that Isla Bryson has, those type of offences against women, how can you put that sort of inmate in amongst women who are going to be feeling vulnerable to attack from this type of inmate? But again, it's not even going to be the inmates that will become vulnerable to attack. It's going to be, well, all inmates, but I mean the inmate, the transgender inmate, is also going to become under attack from the female inmates, because the female inmates aren't going to put up with someone like this living against them who's actually committed heinous crimes against women. They'll probably be wanting to stand by women and try and get a little bit of justice back for what's happened to the women on the outside by these type of inmates. So I can only imagine the uproar that this is going to cause in the prison estate up in Scotland. So it goes on to say, they say that the male prisoners with a history of violence against women or girls should be allowed in the female estate and will only be blocked if they present a risk which is completely subjective. This is clearly unacceptable, and SNP ministers need to go back to the drawing board. Says these long overdue new guidelines actually put women at greater risk by further eroding the fundamental right to single-sex space. But again, it's up for debate. Everyone can have whatever they want to say in the comments. But obviously don't go too far in the comments, because the comments do get monitored by YouTube, and some of them will not be placed in the comment section, and that won't be by me, that'll be by the automated service that picks words up that get put in the comments, and they get put in a list of comments that are kept for review. But like I say, there's going to be a lot of debate on this, and even the transgender women the law-abiding ones out here in the community will probably have their own take on this. They probably don't agree with these type of inmates getting sent to the women's prisons. But like I've mentioned on the video that I've done previously, this fella or woman, whatever you want to call him, because there is different articles whether referring to him as a woman or referring to her as a man, which is quite confusing in itself. But I'll see if I can show you a picture of Isla Bryson before he actually... No, that's not him there. There's a picture somewhere. There he is there. There's even another one that shows him more, but he looks quite intimidating. But he's never been known as a woman before he went to prison. Formerly known as Adam Graham. Even his parents went on to say on the video that I'd done, I think it was his mum, even said in one of the newspaper articles, he's never been known, or he's never been wanted to be known as a woman until he went to prison. So that's why there's a lot of debate on this. Actually, I've just seen that picture further down there. It's quite ironic. Isla Bryson has been dubbed Mrs. Doubtfire in jail after the character Robin Williams. Mrs. Doubtfire. I doubt there'll be much fire going on in the prison system, or there will be a lot of fire. There'll be a lot of sparks and a lot of flames getting kicked up about this topic and this discussion. But I just thought I would bring that to the attention of the viewers, because like I've mentioned, the ones that have been watching my channel, you'll have seen the video that I've done on the transgender inmates up in Scotland. But again, if you are enjoying the if you are enjoying the content, people, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. But I will be putting more videos on, so if you are enjoying it, people, keep a lookout. There'll be more coming soon. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.